Hey guys, welcome back to Sip and Dip with Chelsea. Today's video has been probably the most requested video I have ever been asked, which is, what are your favorite dip powders? And this is also the one question that is probably the hardest one to answer. Let me just start with a disclaimer to say that just because I don't mention a brand doesn't mean I don't like it. There are so many brands that I still have yet to even try, which means tomorrow I could try another one and fall in love with it too. The reason why this question is so hard, not just because there's hundreds of brands of dip powder out there, but it's because each of us are going to value different things. Let me walk you through a scenario to explain why this question is so difficult. Stay with me here. You head to the grocery store and you're looking for a can of green beans. You get to that aisle and you see 3 cans. One is going to be the off-brand. It's a little bit cheaper, more budget-friendly. Then you have that name brand that sometimes is a better quality, but she's pricey. And then you have that organic can of green beans. So which can do you choose and why? That is the million-dollar question. And the reason why this pertains to dip powder is because each of us are going to value certain things differently. That off-brand might be the same as picking out an inexpensive dip powder kit on Amazon because you're more concerned about budget right now. Or if you really want a high quality dip powder, you might pick that big name brand that has a great quality that's a little bit pricier. And that organic can could be closely resembling when you select from a small business because you really want to support a small shop. So ultimately, this is going to vary for every single person, and it's why this question is so difficult because what I value might not be the same as what you value. And so when someone asks me this question, honestly, the best way to answer it is for me to ask you, what do you value? Do you want a huge selection? Do you need to save a little bit of money? Are you building up your stash? Are you looking for something super unique that maybe a small business might offer? So this is why this question is so hard. So today I've broken it up into 3 different categories. So it's going to be larger businesses, budget-friendly options, and then also small businesses. So that way when you watch this video, you guys can make your own decisions on which company you want to explore more. So when I try out a new dip powder, I'm looking for if it is totally opaque after at least 2 dips. I'm looking to see if it's fully blended so I don't see any pigment pieces still in the dip powder. I'm looking for the texture of it. Does it feel soft? Does it feel grainy? I'm also looking at the formula and how easy it is to use. So how does it apply? Is it just all chunky glitter pieces? Is it maybe super full of clear and not a whole lot of chunky glitter pieces? All of these things are largely my own personal preference, but I want to educate you guys on what I'm looking for so when you're buying new products, you know what to look for. Can't talk about the good without talking about the bad. So I'm also going to tell you guys some red flags and things that I've seen in the past so that when you are purchasing from a new business, you know what to look for, at least what I look for when I'm trying out new companies. So the first category we have is going to be large businesses. And the number one that I have to say right off the bat is OPI. So OPI, normally you can't purchase without a nail tech license. However, I've been able to get them on Beyond Polish. I love Beyond Polish. They are so good to me. They have amazing customer service and they have a huge selection of dip powders, especially OPI. So the reason OPI is on my favorites list is because the coverage, y'all, is incredible. Like a 1 dip full coverage company. I also really love that they offer matching dip powder with nail polish and gel polish. I know that's silly. Again, this entire video, y'all, is going to be my own personal preference, so just keep that in mind. But that is another reason why I have them on this list, because how many times do you want to do a matching mani-pedi or even just for nail art? I love that they offer it in dip powder, nail polish, and gel polish. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm looking for the coverage, but I'm also looking at how easy it is to use. And theirs were so easy to use, super fluffy, great coverage. And I got to try out some of their glitters from their new Zodiac collection, and they're like a glitter shimmer. Very easy to use, super beautiful, high shine, all the things that I'm looking for. I highly recommend them. So the OPI jars come in a 1.5 ounce jar, which y'all, that is massive. Like you probably won't use it in an entire lifetime unless you're a nail tech. However, the price really isn't that bad. It's $11.99 per ounce. And especially if you have a friend that you can split a jar with, or if it's one of those colors like bubble bath that you know you're gonna constantly use, it's not that bad. I don't love that they don't have other size jars. I would love to get a 1/4 ounce, a 1/2 ounce, even a 1 ounce, because 1.5 ounces as a DIYer is huge. When we're talking about green beans, this would be one of those name brands that's going to give you quality, but it's gonna be a little bit pricey because they don't offer smaller jar sizes. But I'm gonna put that brand out there because if you want a salon quality dip powder, you're going to get it with OPI. If you want matching mani-pedis, you have that option with them. I do wish that they would offer more selection of, foils and glitters and all the things, but for basics, they're gorgeous. The next large business I want to talk about is Revel. I'm sure you guys are so shocked to hear that name right now. This is the company that I started my dip powder journey with, so of course I have to mention them. Their products are still the products that I use the most often. They're the ones that I constantly grab for, and honestly, I still enjoy using them. So to start, they have over 200 different dip powder colors. It's one of those companies that I know if I suggest to someone who's just starting their dip powder journey, it's gonna be an all-in-one stop shop. You're gonna get your files, you're gonna get the powders, you're gonna get the liquids, and I know you can find something on that website that you like. They have a great selection of just your basic shades to get you started. They've also dabbled in some mood changers, some glows. They've got tons of collections. They just have something for everybody. They also check off the boxes for me of coverage. So while they don't have a full coverage after one dip like OPI, they do after 2. And for me, that's kind of my golden standard. I do find them easy to use. So when I'm talking about glitters, there are some companies that I feel are just very difficult to use. The chunky glitters just overpower all of the clear, or you have those glitters that are just all clear and not a whole lot. So the ratio and the formula that they're using for their foils, for their chunky glitters, all the things, I find to be easy to use. I also love that they offer lots of different jar sizes. So they offer a 1/2 ounce, a 1 ounce, and a 2 ounce. Now where they can improve is keeping up with the small businesses now who have offered a 1/4 ounce jar. So that would be amazing for a lot of us who don't want a ton of powders and would rather purchase more colors. All right, guys, now we're going to get into the affordable, budget-friendly options. So if you're looking to stay on a tight budget, these are gonna be the companies for you. Brands would be Azure Beauty, Moda1s, and Beetles. They offer so many color options. I feel there's a color option for anybody on Amazon. And like I mentioned, they're very affordable. A lot of these kits also offer other tools that you need to get started, like buffing blocks, nail files, cuticle pushers, all the things. Typically, they offer them in these giant bundle kits, and y'all, they are super affordable because they come in these little teeny tiny jars. And honestly, when you're getting started, I feel these are some of the best options to just get your feet wet and see if you even want to explore more of doing your nails at home. So those things that I'm looking for in powders, I find them to check off all of those boxes. They are full coverage after 2 dips. I find the formula is very easy to use because they typically don't go the chunky glitter route. They stay with shimmers and fine glitters. And then they also usually have huge color selections. And I'm confident that whenever I suggest any of those 3 brands that you can go on Amazon and find one that you would like. Last but not least, we gotta give a shout out to the incredible small businesses out there who are just killing it in the dip powder game. Now this one was the hardest category for me to narrow down, so I actually picked 4. So these are 4 that are just incredible, you guys. It's going to be Color My World Dips. They are the one that I did my collaboration with, and that's because I wholeheartedly trust her with quality between her products and her customer service. I just knew you guys were going to be taken care of. Then there's also Manny Boss, and she has some of the most gorgeous colors and collections. The third one is going to be Vivid Glam Co. Her branding, the cohesion, the product quality, when you look at her website, you see those pictures, they are so true and accurate. And that is another thing that I'm looking for. When I purchase a product on a website, I want it to be the same as when I get it in person. So this last one, you guys haven't even actually seen featured on my channel yet, and that is going to be Marullo. She is one of those companies that has a full coverage after one dip. Incredible. It is some of the most pigmented powders that I have ever played with. I was blown away, and she truly has some of the most unique glitters. I shouldn't even call them glitters. They're terrazzo. So you guys will see them next week, but the second I played with them, I knew she was going to make it on this list. Her jars, y'all, are the prettiest jars I have ever seen. They are still functional because they're deep enough to dip in. I'm going to go into more detail onto her next week, but she is a company to look out for. We can't talk about the good without talking about the bad. So these are just some of the red flags that I look for when I'm trying out new products. So the first thing is going to be if it's blended properly. So if I use a toothpick and stir up the powder, does it get fluffy? Do I see any unevenness? And if I do, what that's going to look like is you're gonna see little pigment pieces that were not blended thoroughly. The next thing I mentioned 100 times is it full coverage after 2 dips? I cannot stand, y'all, this is an ick for me. I cannot stand if after 2 dips, I can still see my nail through it. If it's a topper, that's one thing. If it's a jelly or if it's meant to be sheer, that's one thing. But solid shades and chunky glitters, in my opinion, should be full coverage after 2 dips. If not, you're gonna have a super thick nail if you have to keep adding on more layers. The next thing is gonna be if it's grainy and patchy. So if you're playing with dip powder and you feel like it feels more like a granulated salt or sugar, that's not okay. It's not supposed to feel like that. And yes, there's going to be differences in density with glows and with thermals. They are a little bit denser of a powder. But if you stir it with a toothpick and it still is going on patchy or it feels kind of rough, that's not okay. That's not a good quality. You want light and fluffy like powdered sugar. My next red flag, again, is a personal ick for me, and that's when I go to a website and it doesn't look like it in real life. That one, y'all, really burns me up because if I spend my money and I go on the website, I should see accurate swatches. And when there's not, and you get it in real life and it doesn't look anything like that, it's incredibly frustrating. I don't feel as though you should have to go through a Facebook group and search through pictures. I don't feel like that's the consumer's job, especially if you don't have a Facebook page. I have personally purchased powders that I believed were to be solid colors, and I got them in person and they were all full of shimmers, and I just do not feel that is appropriate. I think if someone purchases a chunky glitter, it should be a chunky glitter. If you purchase a solid, it should be a solid. So when I am suggesting companies to you guys, these are my own red flags, icks, things that I don't want you guys to go through. So I want to educate you on what you can look for when you're buying from a company. And this last one, you guys, I have never talked about, and that is if your products smell like cigarette smoke. So if the company is smoking around your packaging, around the products themselves, and you get it in and it smells like cigarettes, that is a huge red flag. That is not okay. And I hope that you guys know if that does happen, that's not the norm. So remember, each of these brands each have their own pros and cons, and it's gonna vary on what you value the most. Do you care about getting some super unique foils and glitters, then you're gonna want to support a small business because they truly have some of the most incredible collections, colors, glitters, all the things. Do you care about having that cult classic bubble bath? Then you're gonna want to go with OPI because you're gonna get it in a polish, a gel polish, a dip powder jar, and the quality, you guys, it's there. Or maybe you're just starting out and you want to get your feet wet, see if you're even into doing dip powder nails, then I highly suggest checking out one of those brands that I mentioned on Amazon because it's a budget-friendly option and you're still gonna mark off each of those boxes of quality that I personally look for, and there's a ton of color selections out there. We are a community, y'all are my friends, so I would love to hear what are your favorite businesses and why. I know there are so many out there that I have yet to try. They're on my list to try, but I would love to hear what it is and why. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next week.